Ayden, you could start a watch party if you go on your phone. You don't have to, but if you go on your phone and you just turn the volume down completely, otherwise you're going to hear the feedback, and you go to the Smart Hub page just to see when we do go live, then you can actually, while I'm talking, you can start a watch party if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see it. Nice. That's pretty sick. Oh, cool.
Hello, this is Eliza Hattin from the Smart Hub. I am actually back in the Smart Hub today. As you can see in my background, you can see a bit of my office. Welcome to today's HubLive. I'm super excited about sharing some really great information with you again today. And today our topic is validation. And I'm here with the amazing Ayden. Hello, Ayden, how are you?
Good, good. Hi, Liz. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, excellent. And Ayden is from MyVi. And if you've not heard about MyVi, you're in for a real treat, because Ayden is developing a business that I think is absolutely amazing. In fact, if I can just tell a really, really quick story. So Ayden's actually was one of our Turbo Traction Lab participants, which is the accelerator that we ran in the last 18 months. That's finished now. But Ayden was part of Lab 3. And I have never told you this story, Ayden, but my manager, Drew, came in on day 1 of Lab 3, and we sat at the back of the room, and he asked me who was in the room, and we were talking through everybody's idea. And then we came to you, and I remember exactly where you were sitting in the room. And I said, and that's Ayden, and he's working on Nourish Cup. That's what it was called then, right? Nourish Cup. And Drew is like, what's Nourish Cup? And I explained to him that you could test your vitamin levels every day, and then you could get specific vitamins made that you needed. And both Drew and I said at that time that we would be customers. We thought that was an amazing idea, especially if you could develop something that would give us more energy. That was our comment on day 1 of the Turbo Traction Lab. But hey, let me ask you before I tell you a whole story. Hey, how are you and where are you?
I'm good. Like right now, I'm in Sydney, so it's great. Unfortunately, I'm not in Rockhampton.
Very unfortunately.
I do miss Rocky. But yeah, so at the moment, we are almost finished with our prototype. So our prototype should be ready for testing soon. It's actually really, really fun. Hopefully, if you're in Sydney, you can come down and try it yourself. So yeah, that's what we're doing now. But overall, if I was just to give a little more of a deeper intro for everyone. So
Yeah, please.
what we're doing is we're just trying to help people feel healthier, more energized, and more focused by taking a scientific and evidence-based approach to personalizing your vitamins and your nutrition. So we do this by producing a personalized vitamin drink, all in real time without using your blood. And the machine that we're using is best described as the love child of an espresso coffee machine, an inkjet printer, and vitamins. So that's kind of, so you can visualize.
That sounds really interesting. Really, really interesting. Okay, so hold on. Let's go back. Where did the idea come from?
Yes, so the idea came a little early. So it all started with the planting of the idea seed, so to speak. So my sister used to take a lot of vitamins, probably like 5 or 6 every day, ranging from collagen to vitamin C to omega-3, and just a couple random ones that I actually hadn't heard of at the time. And I would ask her, I was like, dude, how much are you spending? And she goes, I'm not spending anything, because my parents would pay for it. But the real question was, I was like, do you know what you're taking? Like, you go to a doctor to know that you should be taking a certain medication, but no one really goes to a doctor or a dietitian to know what vitamins they should take. And my sister said the same thing. She goes, I just take them because it says it's good for your hair, your skin, your nails, your complexion, blah, 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 blah. So that was really, really long ago, and I was a bit of a hypocrite. I was taking at the time omega-3 and magnesium after I trained. But that's because I heard they were really good for brain development and muscle relaxing, both respectively. So really, really early on, I kind of put in my head that, well, no one really cares about what vitamins they're taking. People just take whatever they want. And then fast forward a couple months at university, I studied a Bachelor of Biotechnology, and I specialized in the medical field. So a lot of the work we were doing was around personalized medicine. And as we were talking about it, as we were thinking and learning new things, I kind of thought about personalizing nutrition. And then from there, I started thinking about personalizing vitamins, because they're kind of like medicine. They're in the same aisle that Woolies, but no one really treats them like medicine. People just take them whenever they feel like it. So yeah, fast forward from there, we had to do a little pitch in front of the whole cohort for biotechnology in one of the subjects. And the night before, I had like 5 or 6 different ideas, and I just wrote an elevator pitch for each of them. And I pitched them all to my brother, my sister, and my dad, and my mum. I said, guys, which one should I use? So I tallied up the votes, and Nourish Cup was the winner. So I pitched that to the whole cohort, and everyone loved it. I was like, oh, that's great. So that was my first little bit of validation. Everyone just saying, oh, that's a really cool idea. So that was kind of where it started. I didn't really do much with it up until a couple months later, when I pitched it to UTS startups, and they thought it was a cool idea. And then from there, I started working on it. So the initial idea was maybe like February 2018, but I didn't actually start doing anything until like probably like the start of 2019.
Oh, that's so awesome. Okay, so Matt, Craig, thank you so much for joining us today. We're talking about validation and how to validate an idea. I'm here with Ayden. Ayden is based in Sydney. Hey, Simon, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. And really, Ayden's company is called MyVi. And what it is, I'm just going to have a go at summarizing your pitch, okay? So I'm gonna put myself on the spot. So what it is you solve the problem of people people's nutrition not necessarily giving them everything that their body needs. So maybe you need some supplementation, which I'm sure we actually all take. I do take supplements myself, without really knowing whether my magnesium levels are right or my omega-3 levels are right and so forth. But what you do, what MyVi does, your company does, is you can literally test your vitamin levels without a blood test or without taking a blood sample. And then based on the results of that test, you recommend what supplements someone should take. In fact, you go one step further. You actually make the supplement in a drink and hand people, you can either drink it right there, and then I suppose you can then order your supplementation as you go. Is that more or less how it works?
Kind of, but imagine you had the machine in your own home and you would wake up and have it instead of a coffee.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so let me have another go. So everything I just said, except for you test your own vitamin levels every morning, and then the machine creates the concoction of vitamins that you should take, and you take it, and then you know that you're perfectly balanced. Yeah.
Correct.
Now I understand the comment of it's the love child between a coffee machine, and I didn't understand the relevance of that. That's really cool. Excellent. Okay, so a really, really great idea. I do know that personalization is really where the world is moving. So great to personalize supplementation. Right, so you came up with this idea, you pitched it to UTS, but still it wasn't validated. So if your parents say it's a good idea and your sister and your brother, that's a good start, but not necessarily validation. They are biased. So what happened next? How did you go about validating whether it was worth investing time and money into this idea?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things that stopped me from validating it very early was because I had that kind of that safety net of, oh, I was still studying at uni, so I wasn't treating it like a business. I was still treating it as a project. And I think that was a really, really big jump from treating something as just a project to treating it as an actual business.
Yeah.
So very, very early on, I was happy with people just saying it's cool. And that was it. And I would work on it on the weekends, maybe spend an hour or two, because I was really academic. And I would like prioritize my uni work rather than anything else. But once I had enough people saying, hey, you should actually try to make something of this, that's when I had the bit of a mindset shift of, okay, cool, it's not just a side project I'm going to do on the weekend, it should be something I'm working on every single day. So I seeked some help from UTS startups, and I asked, hey, what should my first steps be? I've never had a startup. I've only had a very, very small experience in sales. I really don't know what to do. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Murray Herps from UTS startups.
No.
Okay, Murray Herps is an absolute legend. I love him. So Murray Herps at UTS startups kind of facilitates a lot of the work that's done by all the startups and kind of oversees everyone. Is really, really, really awesome. So I asked Murray Herps, I said, hey, what do you think I should do? And he goes, well, you should validate your product. And I said, a lot of people told me it's cool. Is that okay? And he kind of laughed at me. He goes, no, those are your friends. And as much as like your friends want to be honest with you, they're probably going to be supportive first. So the first step, which took me a couple weeks to do because I was really nervous, he said, why don't you actually just go around on campus and ask people? I said, well, I don't actually have the device here. I don't have anything that I can use. He goes, you don't need to, as long as you can validate the idea. So I literally walked around campus with a pen and a clipboard. I had on the left side of the paper, I had name with a question mark, meaning if they wanted to give me their name. Then I had yes or a no as a little checklist. And then I had boy or a girl. I didn't really care about their age at the time. And all I did was walk around uni, mainly the science labs, because that's where I felt safest because I knew the amount of people there. So I said, okay, cool. I'll just walk around and ask people. Given the circumstances now, that level of validation might not be the most appropriate way to go for everyone watching. But at the time, this was what I was doing. So I'd walk around, hold a pen, and I would just stop. Usually I went for groups because it's a lot easier to stop a group than it is to stop one person. So I'd go up to a group of maybe 2 or 3 people. And I said, hey, guys, do you take vitamins at all? And if they said yes or no, I didn't really pay attention to that the first time I went around. Then I just said, I have a pen that can measure your vitamin levels in real time, and it doesn't take any blood. It takes like a minute. Do you want to see it? And a lot of people were very standoffish at first. Like they would scratch their head or they'd stand back or like, really? And I was like, yeah, like, do you want to see it? And like, yeah, that sounds really interesting. And then I'd pull out a pen and just say, look, I don't have it yet, but I just wanted to see if you guys would be interested. Like, would it be something you would actually be interested in? And they said, yeah, actually I would. Like, does it exist? Are you using it? Like, how do we know it exists? I said, well, it doesn't exist yet, but I'm just trying to gauge the market. Thank you. Do you mind if I write down your name? So I'd write down their name. If they gave me their name, I didn't ask all the time, but I would literally just do that during like the breaks between my classes. So usually I'd have like a half an hour gap or an hour and a half gap. And I'd just go into the hallways where my classes would be and would just do that. So I did that a couple times. And that's how I built up a decent, I think, not so much traction, but at least a general understanding of there are people that actually want it. There are people that would use it. And then I kind of went from there. So that was my first bit of intro to validation.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's just go back a step and could you tell us what validate means? So when your mentor said, go and validate the idea, what was he telling you to do?
So from my understanding, validation is probably best described as how you can understand if someone is willing to pay for your product or at least use your product. So that's kind of my understanding of validation. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the saddest things in the world is if someone starts a business, I need to find out that no one is interested in what they have to sell. And so validation is checking early on before you actually build anything or spend any time and money building a business around a product or a service or a platform or technology, checking very, very early on that there are people who are looking for what it is that you want to sell. And that would be validation. Hey, Daniel, thank you for joining us. So good that you're here. If anyone has a question for Ayden around validation or around his checklist or anything regarding MyVi, please pop it into the comments and we will have a go at answering those questions. Okay, so what happened next? So you had your clipboard, and then I'm guessing that you had an overwhelming response as a yes. People are actually interested in this concept.
Yeah, so it was kind of, a lot of people were interested in the measuring, and I didn't really tell them anything more about the actual kind of supplementation aspect. So that was the next step of the validation. Was I was like, cool, people want to know what their vitamin levels are, but let's see how many people actually want to buy vitamins. So my next step was understanding how many university students, because that was my main target at the very, very start. It's since changed, but at the time I was a uni student. I found it really cool. I took vitamins and I just assumed everyone was like me. So that's one other thing. You're never really your customer. So I try to make sure I keep that in mind. Whenever I think of something cool, I'm like, yeah, I think it's cool, but is Margaret going to find it cool as well? So that's another thing. But yeah, so I would go around and then I just started asking again. I said, cool, so how many people take vitamins? I would just text friends. Little things like that, I think it's okay to ask your friends because it was really just a behavioral thing. So cool, how many people take vitamins? And I found that not many university students actually took vitamins. That's because you'll find that university students are the unhealthiest people in the world. They're happy to live on $2 ramen and literally Mountain Dew or water. So yeah, it was one of those things I was really surprised that I was like, oh, like no one else takes them. Like then I got really kind of, I went through this little slump stage, kind of like the roller coaster that we always spoke about in Turbo Traction Lab.
That's
So
right.
I put it on pause for a couple months and focused on my studies. And then when everything kind of simmered down a bit, I finished all my exams, all my assignments, I got back into it. I said, right, let's try some different target markets. So I'd ask my friends to ask their parents and found that their parents were taking more vitamins than their kids were.
Yeah.
That was kind of a bit of a pivot where I said, cool, now rather than focusing on the students, I think I'm going to start focusing on the parents. And that's kind of where we're at now. So I then asked the parents, hey, do you measure your vitamin levels? And not many of them did. Even if it was a blood test, most of them took vitamins and they actually took a fair amount of vitamins. I had one parent who was spending $110 a month and another one that was spending about $75 a month. So once I saw that people were spending a ridiculous amount of vitamins, I said, right, can I make that cheaper? And then I asked people, so how much like would you switch your current vitamin routine if you keep the exact same amount of things but only pay $50 a month as opposed to 110? And of course you would imagine the answer would be yes, because who would say no to that? And that's kind of where I went from saying, cool, now I'm going to have a focus on the personalization and also the cost benefit. And that's kind of where I went from there. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's really, really awesome. Okay. So then did you continue on to validate, or did you consider that to be validation done?
So that was my first kind of, I said, right now I should get something semi-tangible to see if people are willing to pay for something. Because at the moment, it's easy to say yes. It's easy to place a pre-order for $0.
Yeah.
It's easy to like a Facebook post, but imagine it was $1 to like a Facebook post. I think we'd be a
Yeah.
bit more cautious of what we were liking. So it was only until Turbo Traction Lab that when Daniel said, if you can get someone to pay $1, that's a lot better than them saying they would pay $300. Because to actually secure that money is one of the biggest things. So I did a really, really, really crappy landing page, which we are now redesigning. Well, I am redesigning.
Can you show us your crappy landing page, or would that be
Yeah,
too much?
it should still be up. I haven't taken it down yet. But I've typed the link in the chat here, so maybe you can type it on the Facebook. Or
So
I can,
myvi.com.au. But share your screen, show us.
oh, okay.
I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry, Ayden.
That's okay. All right, I'll quickly get that up now.
Okay, so this was the next step of validation. And the link is on the Facebook comments as well. But if you just keep watching the screen, we're going to see it right here.
Okay, cool. So can you see it?
I can.
Awesome. So this part looks really cool. And I was just designing the landing page from my perspective. I was like, cool, what do I want to show people? So I thought, I should tell everyone that it's a personalized vitamin drink. You can order it over here, and what it is we're doing. Then I thought, cool, I'll tell everyone how it works, which is fine. But what you'll find that it doesn't really communicate the benefits of trying. It doesn't really showcase the value of using the product. And also some poor image choices that looks like a cut off image, but it's actually just a zoomed in photo of the product. So I think one of the main things that I got from a lot of feedback was then I would send a link to everyone, not everyone, just a bunch of people. I said, cool, do you mind just having a look at this? And then if you want, you can go ahead and pre-order it. So a lot of the people that pre-ordered already really, really liked the product, and they knew exactly what the product was. They knew exactly what the benefits were. But to the people that didn't really know what they would gain out of using it, I found that they didn't pre-order. And a lot of that was because they would ask me, so how does it actually, like, what do I need to do? How often do I need to pay for things? Is it just a one-time payment? And a lot of that I didn't really communicate. So a lot of them signed up to the mailing list, but they wouldn't reserve one. So if you go to reserve it, this is how it kind of looks like. So I've given the dimensions. It kind of describes a little bit with what you get, but it doesn't really tell you how energized, how focused you're going to feel, the health benefits, how it incorporates nutrition. And like with every vitamin page, you'll find if you go to Blackmore's or you go to supplements, like we can probably do that now. If we just go supplements, let's just quickly Google them. So straight away, the main differences that you can see are there's already a person that seems like they're enjoying something. And I think that was one of the main things that I had left out. I left out the fact that people I didn't really consider why people were taking vitamins, as opposed to they were just spending a lot of money on them. So one of the main things that I will be doing now with kind of communicating that is actually that value. But this comes back down to one of my main kind of lessons that I try to use to myself. And I like to use what Peter Lorre described as the ready, fire, aim method. So I could have spent 3 months perfecting a landing page, designing every, minute detail. But instead, I kind of just got something up that took me like 4 or 5 hours just to make. And then I said, right, I'm just going to send the link to all my previous customers. So we had about just over 100 customers. And in total, we have 21 or 22 pre-orders. One of them being my mum, so that doesn't count. So I have to subtract one. That's okay.
You're so honest, Ayden. That's awesome.
But a lot of the time I would kind of lie to myself. I'm like, oh, like, cool, we got a lot of likes, or we got a lot of people walk past. But the more I told myself that like, even though I was making myself happier, I kind of wasn't really wasn't doing any benefit for myself. So that was kind of one thing that took me a little bit to learn. So that's why I don't like participation awards. Like whenever my mom would give me a participation award, I'm like, I don't want it. Stop lying to me. But yeah. So
I
I
think
like
that's a
the
really good point, though. Can I just interrupt you there? I think that's a really, really good point. When you do validation, it's really easy to convince yourself that you are right, because you can negate or like be willfully blind to any evidence in the contrary. But what you're saying is actually really difficult to do, to be brutally honest about what is working and what is not, and to be brutally honest and brutally open to get the feedback from your market. I think that's super important. And I also want to welcome Tess. Hey, Tess, thank you so much for joining us. And I love your comment. So Tess just gave a little bit of a comment for you. Not sure who you may want to market the product to, but would definitely look into those who have had weight loss surgery. I've had weight loss surgery, and vitamins are very important to me, and I need to get regular blood tests to measure my vitamin levels. You may be able to link with the weight loss WLS surgeons as well, and as they'll push the need of vitamins. So, hey, Tess, thank you so much for that comment. Yeah, what do you think about that? Suggested new market for you, Ayden.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought about weight loss surgery, mainly because one of the things I did when I was trying to cut some weight, I obviously I didn't have surgery, but I actually didn't look at vitamins at all. There was only one supplement that I was taking that was good at boosting thermogenesis that would then help with the metabolism, which would then help with weight loss. But I actually didn't think about monitoring those. That was probably around year 12 though. But since then I haven't had the chance to revisit that. So yeah, thank you, Tess. I'll probably yeah, that'd be really cool if you can link in with the WLS surgeons. So yeah, I'll message you on Facebook as well. So
Yeah. Awesome. That's really awesome. Okay, so back to being brutally honest. So you did get 20 pre-orders. That's excellent. So is that where the validation has stopped? Are you now just prototyping and developing, or what was the next step?
Yeah, so we're now kind of doing those simultaneously. So we're building the prototype, which will then hopefully showcase. Once we can showcase the prototype, hopefully we can get a bit more pre-sales. Once people see something actually tangible, something that's working. It's kind of one of the main things whenever you're kind of, I think, trying to convince people to put something inside their bodies, in this case, vitamins, I think the main thing you want to do is instill a sense of comfort and confidence, or else people won't take it or engage with it. So I think once they see something tangible, once they see us, interacting with it, to be able to say, oh, okay, cool, here's $10 as the pre-order, that's a lot easier. Hopefully from there, if we can generate enough, we'll then go through and move forward with our Kickstarter campaign, which I haven't had too much experience in. So I'll be looking at a couple of people that have done a successful Kickstarter campaign and ask them how they went about it. But yeah, I think one of the things about validation is it's always good to keep on validating, because the market's always changing, especially now. With everything that's happening, people could easily say, this week that vitamins are the most essential things in the world. But then in 2 weeks' time, someone could come out and say it's actually increasing rates of whatever. So I think it's one of those things, it's always good to, I wouldn't say put all of your efforts into validation 100% of the time, or else you won't make any progress with, product development or customer capturing. But definitely once you do send something out, for example, my landing page, it's about a 20% conversion rate. If you look at my previous customers, it's only about 20% or just under 20% of them pre-ordered. And I attributed that to a really, really poor landing page. Because they were paying before, I thought, why wouldn't they pay again? So I think a lot of them were actually uncomfortable with the landing page, and a lot of them voiced that. So I did ask them for their feedback, and I've kind of quantified what parts people, hated, which parts people dislike, and which parts people did like. And that comes down once again to the ready, fire, aim approach. I spent 4 hours on the first landing page, shipped it off, got the numbers, said, cool, let's reposition, let's pivot a little bit, and then we'll fire again and then see what happens. So yeah, I really, really like Peter Lorre's way of describing that. Yeah, it just made it kind of, that's naturally what everyone does anyway. You come up with something, you test it. If it doesn't work, you change it, and then test it again. It's what we do in the science lab. So it's what I try to do in my business as well.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And how did you overcome the emotional part of getting that feedback? So, for example, if someone says to you, "Look, I really didn't like your landing page," so that's something that you did. Hey, Toby. Hey, Karen. Thanks for joining us. If someone says, "I don't like what you've done," how do you manage the feedback within yourself, and how do you then make decisions based on that feedback?
Yeah, so I think I'm a fan. Like, I much prefer getting criticized about something than be praised. But that's just me. With my businessy stuff, if someone critiques my soccer playing ability, I get a bit sad. But I think it's so
But business, no problem.
yeah, if I think the main difference with the two would be, with your business, you know the amount of work you've put in. You also know that other people like it. So I guess it comes down to as well who said it as well. So I mean, some people are very good at sugarcoating things. So the way they say it, you're like, okay, I think I know what they actually mean. So I'll, implement those changes. Or someone might just be bashing on the business. They might not like you, or they might not just like the concept. So even if you give them a perfect landing page for a product they don't like, they might still say the landing page sucks. The same way, if you ask your opponent in a soccer game, hey, do you like my shooting ability? They'll say no. So I think one of the important things as well when you're receiving feedback is actually who you're receiving feedback from. So if you're receiving feedback from friends, just know they are like 99% of the time they'll sugarcoat it. But also if you're receiving feedback from someone that's not in your target market, just know that if they do like it, it might not be a good thing. Or it might be a great thing that they do like it. But I think you should always try to keep in mind that, cool, if someone doesn't like it, there were also 100 other people that did like it. So I think it's just about finding the people that do like your product, asking them the questions, and then getting their actual feedback that's going to be, constructive. So yeah.
Awesome. Now let's move on to actually running the business. Do you have any tips, tricks, platforms, software, ideas that you can sell with actually running a business that is still in the pre-revenue phase, essentially?
Yeah. So I'm a really visual person. So I think one tool that I really, really like using is Miro. So I'll quickly share the screen and show you how Miro works. So I'm not sure if you can see the screen now. You all good?
We can. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I understand. Whoops, sorry.
Who's talking?
I just got an Apple Watch, and Siri decided to talk. I'm not sure. But yeah. So so I made this little visual with Miro. Miro is really cool for making things look pretty. So I could easily have done this in an Excel spreadsheet, but I'm a very visual person. If something looks boring, I won't put effort into it. But if it looks really nice, I'll put like 20 times the amount of effort. So here, all I was doing was just writing customers' goals and trying to focus on how we can kind of looking at a customer's goals, seeing what they do to achieve those goals, and then how we can be involved. So for example, let's just take the left-hand column. So Margaret was one of my first ever customers. That was my friend's mother, and she was the one spending about $100 a month, or just over $100 a month on vitamins. So I had to look at where she kind of got that from, and she got that from a Google search. And the way she did that was she would just buy the best vitamins that she could online. And then, so if you look over at the top left corner, you can see wants to be healthier to prevent getting sick at an older age. So that was one of the main things that Margaret wanted to do. She wanted to make sure that she's always feeling healthy, so she would actually buy the best vitamins that she could online. Margaret would take a blood test, but she would only do that once every 3 to 4 months. So that's where we came in and said, right, if we can get involved here, by having a Google search, a sponsored Google search for buying the best vitamins online. Maybe that's where we can capture our customer. So I kind of just did that mainly for everyone here. So I did one for Ian, who tries to align his macros and micros. So he'd get regular blood tests and he'd track his food using an app. So we thought, well, we could introduce another Google ad, but for micronutrient tracker, because at the moment, his only way of tracking his micronutrients was through a blood test, which are very time consuming, relatively expensive, and quite annoying if you ask me. So I kind of did that for as many people as I could, just our main target markets or our main kind of customer avatars. And I did the same thing for kind of what we're solving, our target markets, how we should get involved with them, and really looking at some pain points and their high level goals. So yeah, Miro is really, really good for helping visualize everything. And I think, yeah, it's honestly a really, really good app. Makes everything look nice. You can kind of track everything you're doing, making sure you're doing the right things, draw little lines to connect the dots. So yeah, that's what I really, really like. I kind of use Miro, I'd say, like at least every single day. I use it for MyVi, and I use it for a couple other things that I do. I was even using it for university at one point. So yeah, highly, highly recommend.
That's awesome. That is really, really awesome. So Ayden, when can we actually order and purchase one of your machines? So I know that you're prototyping, and so I saw on the landing page 2021. What is the delivery date now?
So we did hit some delays. We're still hoping for Q1 2021. But at the moment now we're looking more at halfway through the year. So hopefully around probably June next year. But that'll be dependent on if we get 1,000 pre-orders and everyone's literally waiting on the edge of their seat for it. Obviously things can be sped up, but at the moment, at the rate that we're going now, we're looking at about 2021 midway.
So how are you promoting the machine now?
So until we have our new landing page, what we're doing is also simultaneously, we are social media prepping. So what we're kind of doing is, I don't have it with me, but pretty much all it is it's a really big piece of paper that I drew to look like an Instagram feed, drew a bunch of boxes and said, what is the purpose of each box? And I think one thing that Daniel told me was that every decision that you make should be to achieve a specific goal. So my goal for the social media posting is to get people on our website. So every single post that I post has to in some way encourage people to visit the landing page or actually just directly purchase or place a pre-order. So that's what we're kind of doing now, but also part of the social media is actually just to help grow a community. One thing that I do want to do is hopefully by growing a little community, you're getting people that are too or not ready to purchase. You can get them comfortable with understanding the brand, understanding the culture. Once they understand that, then you can actually showcase the value to them and say, right, you like our branding, you like who we are, you like what we do. Now here's how we can help you and why you should go through with a purchase.
That is so amazing. Tell us, how old are you?
21.
How incredible. That's incredible. You're doing an incredibly good job. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, there's still a lot to learn though. So that was really good in Turbo Traction Lab, having people that were on their second business or on their third business or on their first business. So I think like experience sharing for me was one of the biggest things that Turbo Traction Lab helped with as well, especially the mentors having such in-depth experience. They can kind of relate to everything on an I've been there, done that level.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm telling my friends something, they're like, how am I meant to help you? I don't know what to say. And I'm like, I don't know what to say either. That's why I'm asking you. They're like, why would you ask me? I don't know what to say. So yeah, I mean, I guess one of the best parts about that was being able to ask someone a question. They're like, hey, I literally have the exact same thing. So when I had delays with my prototype, they're like, welcome to the world. and rather than
Yeah.
saying, oh no, what happened? Like, this is maybe what you can do. They're like, oh, cool. So now you've
Yeah.
experienced what everyone else has experienced.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's that's kind of one of my favorite things about it. Like the whole.
It's good. That's what's good, really good about the Smart Hub. There is a community of people who are on the same journey as you are, and they can really relate to whatever challenges that you go through. They would have gone through or will be going through at some point. So that's what's really great about being part of an innovation ecosystem or a community like the Smart Hub. Ayden, do you have any last words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm not like probably the best person for wisdom yet. I'm still kind of learning. I'm a baby compared to everyone else in this industry. I think for me though, one of the best things I can share though is honestly just putting yourself out there really. Like at the end of the day, like there's no point being nervous. So I was really nervous to just go up to people and ask questions, but at the same time, if one of my friends was like, hey, Ayden, go talk to this person at a club, I'd go and do it. But for some reason, when I treated my business, I wouldn't treat it the same way. So I guess if you're not a confident person in general, just know that people are actually just going to respect you anyway, just for getting out there and trying to sell yourself, trying to help. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to help people, I think no one's going to knock you down if you're trying to help people that actually need help. So as long as your startup is kind of helping people, then there's honestly no reason why you shouldn't make a Facebook post, make an Instagram page, just direct message a bunch of people, go find some news articles, message the author, and honestly just reaching out, because there's no harm in reaching out to anyone. I think you've already lost if you haven't taken your first step. So yeah.
How correct that is. You have been an absolute pleasure to talk to today, Ayden. Thank you so much for sharing your validation journey and the tips and tricks about talking to people, about making landing pages, Miro. Everything's been so valuable. Thank you, sir. And we are certainly super proud of what you've achieved and what you will continue to achieve. Well done.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, can't wait to kind of be involved again. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Please join me next Thursday for our next HubLive. We'll see you then. See ya.